Engineering. I think we looked up some projects on engineering. We've talked about engineering quite a bit, and we know there's a process. Engineers make they make everything. They don't put it together, generally speaking, like a carpenter will carry out what's going on, what an engineer designs. But the first thing is that there's a problem. If we want a solar car, we have to identify that we need to lower our costs of or our dependence on fossil fuels. So we want to use solar. So we have a problem. How do we get this? How do we get solar power to work, right? To power a car. That's all. So today, your problem, we're going to give you the problem. You're not going to discover the problem. You have to figure out how to solve the problem. Is that you're going to make a table, okay? And you're going to have just a few materials. May I have that piece of cardboard, please? Okay. So as we've discussed before, our problem is that we need to make a table. But you guys are going to have to figure out by brainstorming how to solve that, how to do that. And the table you're going to have to make is going to have to support one heavy book. Okay? It could be this book. We might want to do one of those thesauruses back there. You may want to make something that can support 10 of them. But we're going to try to support one heavy book. So the way that's going to work is you're going to get newspaper. I'm going to take, right? You're going to get some newspaper. And you can tear it in half. These are like double sheets. And you're going to roll it up. You're going to make tubes. You're going to make tubes. Now I'm rolling it up. I can make a fat tube. Just put it down, please. I can make a fat tube with a big hole, or I can make a thin tube. I made one kind of thin. And then once I make my tube, I'm going to just put a little piece of tape on it. You'll probably have to share some of the tape. I think I only have 4 rolls. Should have 5. But anyway. So you tape it up, you have a tube. So you're going to work as a team. Now, if you feel this without being so, you see it's pretty stiff, right? Right? It's pretty stiff. It can support something, right? Right? I could hit all you, but I won't. All right. So it's pretty stiff. Now, when you make it, I have some bigger ones here. You can make them into some different shapes. This is a whole page versus a half a page. It's whatever you want to do. Now, I can make something, say like this, like a triangle. And can I have that, do I have the tape here? Here. So if I make a triangle and I tape it up, right? Probably should have had these taped up already, but anyway, I wanted to show you how to bend it. But I can tape it together, and now I have a triangle. It's not taped very well, but a triangle has certain strengths, right? Right? So it's, I have to get this side a little tighter. I might have to put a little more tape there. But a triangle has a certain strength to it, right? So you can use it. You can see where it might be weak, right? And you can strengthen this however you want to strengthen it, given the materials. Tape, right? Those are your materials. Those are your constraints are newspaper, tape, scissors, cardboard, ruler, copier, paper, pencil. So once you get to this point of actually making it, you can make this. And there's different strengths to this. You could also make, I don't know, you can make a square. Fold it in half, fold each of these in half, right? And then you can have this kind of shape, right? And you might want to use that. When you look at the tables in the chairs right now. Take a minute and look at the tables and chairs. What shapes do you notice that are making them strong? Is it just 4 legs sticking down?
No, sir.
Look at them. Get up out of the chair. Take a look at the shapes you see on those chairs. You see the shapes on the chairs? What shapes do you see? Anything else?
No, you're silly. This one's
Take it down shape. Tell me about a shape. What do you say, Mom?
I see a rectangle. Do we have to work with our tables?
I'm asking you, what shapes do you see? Anybody see any other shapes?
Triangles.
Okay. What do you see?
Squares.
Okay. Anything else other than that?
Circles. Like half of.
The bottoms are circles? Okay. All right. And they're supporting, the chairs support a seat, and the legs over here support the table. So you're going to make like a mini table. That's what you're going to be making today. These are some of the shapes that you might want to use. All right. What shapes do you know? When you think of shapes, what shapes do you know that we will use a lot in construction when we're building?
Squares.
What are some strong shapes? Justin?
Squares and triangles.
Anybody else? Guys, turn to each other. What shapes do you see when you're building?
Triangles, mostly triangles.
Like on bridges.
The guy.
Yeah, or like a rectangle or square.
Cube, because it has to be like.
Anything that has like a really strong border.
All right, stop. Anybody want to share out? Just tell me. Carter, what do you see when you're in construction? What do you see?
Well, mostly like you said, squares and triangles to hold up stuff because I have a good like balanced material under it, and sometimes rectangles.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Where do you see rectangles in buildings? Talk to each other. Where do you see a
The
rectangle?
building itself.
Yeah, and maybe like on the ceiling, the things are rectangular.
The tiles, maybe the window.
Like we should, if like the paint wasn't here and the plaster, then we would be able to
that's
see
three-dimensional shape.
like how the room is made and then like the structures.
All right, so we see a triangular shape on the roof, and that's often to give it some pitch. So when snow, around here, when you have snow, snow will slide off, rain will roll off, right? Won't lay there flat. Sometimes when there's a lot of snow, you see a big, you see those steep pitch. I don't know if that's for strength as much as it is for gravity, right, to help the snow come off. What shape, where do you see certain shapes?
Oh,
Carter?
mostly everywhere.
Yeah, but I mean like in buildings.
Oh,
Or bridges
ceiling tiles.
Okay, so you guys, okay, so you're not really coming out with it. Go ahead.
Like sometimes if you have a glass building, there might not be like squares glass tiles, there'll be two triangles making a square.
Okay, there you go. So it's triangles that'll make up a square. So, not to belabor this, this is really just your introduction to have some fun and to really think, is I'm going to ask you to first go ahead and brainstorm some ideas and plan, okay? So you need to think of a design for a table using tubes, right, of newspaper and some tape that's going to hold up your table. And it has to be strong enough so that these don't buckle and collapse under the weight of a book. It's got to be about it has to be at least 8 inches high. Right? It has to be 8 inches high. And it's got to support this, and it has to support the book. Now before we go into any kind of building phase, we have to plan. And you're going to make a drawing. That drawing is what you're going to make. Whatever you draw, you must make that. Okay? Because part of our design process is we try to figure it out ahead of time before we start building a building and have to knock it down and go like, oh, it wasn't right. We didn't build it right. It wasn't strong enough. All the people died and fell down. Right? So we have to like kind of come up with a good idea first. And then you can go ahead and make it. Now once you make it, you're not going to change it mid-design. You're going to make the design that you draw, okay? And you don't start doing that until I sign off on that. Okay, I just want to see it. I'm not going to tell you that you can't do it, but I just want to see that you've come to a consensus together. You decided what you're going to draw, and you actually drew it so that I can look at the plans and go, okay, well, that's what they're going to draw. And that's what you have to make. Can't change it. Make it. Then we'll test it over at this table. And if we have to make improvements, and we'll work on that. So you're going to have about 10 minutes to sit together and every person is an equal in this. There's no like one person that does it all. Do not let a person in this group, in your group, take over. Everybody has to have a say. Everyone's design gets considered, right? The more mistakes you make, the faster you're gonna get to a good solution, right? Make all the mistakes, things that go wrong, and then you're gonna get to the right solution. Jess, you have a question?
I have 2 questions. Could you draw more than one thing, like for ideas? Like,
I'll show you. You have 10 minutes.
and then
That's
how
a constraint.
many rolls of newspaper do you have?
You have 35 minutes. Okay? It's like, imagine if we had to evacuate White Plains. There would be a time constraint. You need to get out, right? If there's a fire in your house, you have to get a plan and get out, and you have a constraint, okay? When people build cars, they're gonna come out with cars, every year they come out with cars, right? So they have a time limit. You have to design this car and get that car ready to be sold on time. Christmas is coming, Hanukkah is coming, right? You have to be, those toys that they're making have to get out the door on time. So there is a time constraint. You have a time constraint here, you have materials. It's like anything in your house, you only have so much money. Gotta make it happen. If I said, here's $50, feed your family for a week, you'd figure it out. The whole family for $50 a week, you would figure it out. So today, you're building, let's look over here again. You're building a newspaper, you're building a table made out of newspaper that's 8 inches high, strong enough to support a heavy block. These are your constraints. This is all you can use. And this is the only time you have. Here are your criteria, which are basically your challenge. This is what has to happen. This is what you're building. This is your goal. Okay? Any questions about that so far? No. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Carter go grab some copier paper. He's going to put 4 pieces of paper on every table. Talk and brainstorm about a design. Draw a design. Draw what you think would be right using those tubes. And once you're ready, I will hand you the newspaper, and you'll have 35 minutes to go. So I'm gonna let a minute go by, and at 2:20, we're done talking. Your plan must be made. You have to work pretty quickly. Okay? So you need to make that table, right? So get to your tables with your groups. I will stop you and collect and look at your design at 20 after. We'll do other challenges, okay? This one, just do this. I'll change the grouping for the next design. Okay?